But our first guest, let me introduce you to him. He is well known in the field of mental health as a clinical psychologist, as a cognitive behavioural therapist, and also as a lecturer, visiting lecturer too. So let me introduce you, Shah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Welcome to the studio. Welcome to the couch. It's so lovely having you here. I believe you're local.
Yeah, I'm local, from East London, from Tower Hamlets. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. We're so excited to have you here. Now, you are, of course, really a trailblazer in an area that probably isn't represented anywhere near as much as we would like. You know, how did you sort of get into this area? What were some of the decisions that you made that made you decide to go into this field of mental health, which traditionally is something probably that a lot of Bangladesh community, you know, don't look to as something as positive. How did you sort of go about doing this?
Yeah, no, thank you. And thank you again for having me and giving me the space to talk. I think a lot back to my journey, and so I'm from Tower Hamlets, I'm from East London, and we have, I guess, a lot of factors that impact mental health for our community. So things like housing, racism, discrimination, physical health as well, diabetes. So we see so many things that impact mental health, and I think growing up I see this. I see it in my own family as well. So many things impact mental health. But I always knew I wanted to do something where I can work with people and help people, but I just didn't know what that was. So I initially thought I would do medicine.
Traditional route,
medicine, lawyer, and I guess my parents always encouraged me to work hard, and that's something I really value. So I think I had that ethic of I'm going to work hard, and medicine was on the table, but then I just found that chemistry wasn't for me. And I remember my sister just suggested to me, do psychology, you know, it's really good. I didn't really know much about it. But once I started, I just found it fascinating, just learning about human behavior, learning about what impacts our mental health. And I always see how I always find that I'm learning. So there's always something that I learn and find out. It wasn't easy because, as you said, you know, psychology, mental health is something that's not really spoken about in our community. So when I told my parents I wanted to do psychology at uni, it was like, oh, what is this? Like, what can you do with this degree? This isn't medicine. But luckily, you know, they supported me. They said, as long as you know it's something that you want to do, if you know that is something that, you know, you can take forward, we're supportive. And that's something I think I was really grateful about. So then from there, did psychology at university, and then alhamdulillah, I managed to do my doctorate. And then now I work in East London. I work with adults in Tower Hamlets and Hackney, and I just really appreciate being able to work with people from my own community, because that was the goal. That's what
motivated you. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. And for our viewers that might not know the difference between being a cognitive behavior therapist and a clinical psychologist, would you be able to explain briefly what are the differences? Who would you go to for what?
Yeah, so I trained to be a cognitive behavioral therapist. So people may have heard about it, CBT. It's one of the most common types of therapy within this country, within London. It's offered in the NHS as well. And I guess the training routes are different. So you do like a diploma when you're training to be a CBT therapist, and then a doctorate when you're training to be a psychologist. I guess being a CBT therapist, you train specifically in that way of working and in that model. Whereas I guess that wasn't enough for me. I wanted to train a bit more broader. I wanted to work with different populations, and also I think research is something really important. So then I luckily was able to go on to clinical psychology training. So now I can work with different ways of working, not just CBT. I can work with different models. And also work with different populations, so young people, children, adults, older adults, and as I said, doing research. And I did research with our population, with Bangladeshi men as well.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that really fascinated me, actually. I know in your research you looked at, in specifically, British, Bangladeshi, Muslim men and mental health, and how this sort of really impacts, you know, the community. How do we remove some of those barriers? You know, what are some of those obstacles that are preventing our men from seeking the right kind of help?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of messages out there that men, just generally men, and that just don't speak or don't want support. But actually, you know, everyone has their own mental health, and it's so important. Of a background where we're from, that we look after our mental health. And I think I wanted to do that research for my doctorate because it's really close to me. I knew, okay, I'm a Bangladeshi man, I'm Muslim, and there wasn't any research out there. So I knew, okay, let me look at mental health within our population. And a lot of the men said to me that I guess, we know that stigma is there, people, about what people will say, if someone finds out I'm seeing a therapist, what will they say? I feel like slowly things are changing, but I think that was a big thing that people said. But also, I just want to highlight how I think a lot of services also need to do better. So I think on the side of, say, therapy services, they need to do a lot more to understand our community and what are some of the factors that impact mental health. Because that's another reason why people felt that they couldn't access support, because either they didn't know about it, or they felt that, okay, this person might not understand me, or they might think my religious beliefs are part of my problem or something like that.
That's it. And then they're sort of putting their own obstacles in place as well as the stigma that's attached to it. So for a lot of our viewers who might be interested or don't know what they want to go into in terms of career, I know you mentioned this is something you're passionate about. What would you advise them? How do they go into this kind of field?
Yeah, so I would say, and I would just want to just start off that one of my roles, I work at UCL and I do a mentoring scheme for people from racialized communities that want to come into psychology and specifically clinical psychology. So if anyone watching this does want to get into the field, I'd always encourage them just to get in touch with me, look me up, and I'm always happy to sort of get them the right support or provide them with information. But I would say, because a lot of the messages that I got was, don't do it, it's too hard. The profession, it is a very white profession as well, and we need a lot more people from our community to train as therapists and psychologists. But I would say that if one door closes, another door will open, and that's what I found for me, that I was maybe quite set in an idea, but I found that along the way I didn't always have clinical psychology as my end goal. I think that it actually helped me just to go along with what came up and the opportunities that came up. So me not having that fixed goal, I think it was helpful to be open to different things that come up.
Absolutely. So having that kind of, not having a fixed mindset, but being flexible to different things.
Yeah. And I would say not to give up. I think to work hard, like it pays off. If you work hard in your GCSEs, your A-levels, it might feel like it is stressful. And, there's a lot of sacrifice and a lot of things that you might have to give up in that time. But I would always encourage you, work hard, it will pay off. And I think that use the support around you, network with people, and I guess use the internet. There's so many platforms now, LinkedIn and other social media platforms that you can reach out to people and psychologists just to get information. So I would try and sort of, I guess, share those messages.
Do you ever find as a psychologist that you're analysing people, like your friends or your family or anybody like that?
Yeah, I always get, can you read minds? Somehow I'm a psychic. But
that's a different profession completely.
Yeah, I always get that. But I think, and I always reflect on this, that if I wasn't in this profession, I think that my mental health would probably be in a different place than it is now.
Really
I think I've learned so much about psychology, myself, and ways of managing my own mental health. And I think, again, I'm just really grateful to have this position where I have friends, family, and just other people online reaching out from our community, wanting to find out, I have this friend, how do I get help for them? And I think that I'm just grateful to be able to, be in this position and to be able to help people and provide that information. But I do get the, can you analyze us, or are you analyzing us right now? Because I'm usually the person that's asking the questions and trying to get the information. But no,
I'm analysing you right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of your sort of, you mentioned how fulfilling it is. What would you say has been your proudest moment so far? Any kind of project you've been involved with?
I think my proudest moment is, getting my doctorate. I think that was a really big thing and a big achievement. And during the pandemic as well, halfway through my training, we went into lockdown.
Wow.
And I always say to my friends who I trained with, okay, in a way, we didn't have anything else to do, so we got our research done. We had our thesis, so our laptop and our work. But that, I think, is a really big achievement. And I think just now being able to work somewhere where I do have a voice, I do have a platform, but trying to use my voice to support our community and trying to help people from our community and other communities who are less represented in the profession, trying to get in and support. So I guess trying to be a part of, that conversation around mental health. And a lot of the work I do now is around removing barriers, increasing access to mental health services, and increasing what it is that we offer within services as well. So I think just the qualification, but just the ongoing work that I'm doing now, because it's all the reason why I wanted to do this.
Of course.
And I've been able to get
Do you feel that, for I mean, you talk about specifically Bangladeshi men, but do you think for women, you know, mothers, sisters, daughters, wives, is there anything that we can also do to support our men in the families, you know, to empower them to not be afraid of seeking help? Is there anything you'd sort of advise for us?
Yeah, no, that's such an important question. I think that what I want to highlight is I think just we need to support each other.
Yeah.
So whether it's a husband and a wife or a brother and a sister, or I think it's just emphasizing just, you know, again, like we all have mental health needs, you know, different things in life happen, you know, things can happen like bereavements and other things that just, you know, impact us so much. So I just want to highlight how it's important that we just support each other, and just broader in the community, you know, how can we just support a brother, support a sister, and in a family, how can we support each other? I think I find that, you know, with men particularly, I guess coming back to your question, what I guess women can do is, I think just being there, and I think that's what I found helpful. And I think just for myself as well personally, like I know that when my wife is there and she comes and speaks to me, and I know that she's there, that I know that I can speak to her.
Absolutely.
So just offering a space that we know is safe, and then we're not going to be judged with what we say.
Right.
And I think just opening up that conversation, you know, you might ask someone, how was your day? But then just going further and just ask, you know, okay, no, how was your day? Because sometimes day to day we ask, how are you? But just taking that moment just to go a bit further.
Actually delving a little bit deeper, not just accepting, yeah, it was fine,
Yeah.
and it's a topic of conversation, gone,
Yeah.
but really finding out. I
Yeah.
think that's so important.
Yeah.
Do you find that the men want to talk? I mean, obviously there's a stereotype of men, you know, stereotypically being reticent, holding back. You know, do you feel that when they've got that opportunity that they do speak?
Definitely. And this is something I found with my research, actually. When I first did it, so I was looking at mental health with Bangladeshi men, I thought, you know, would the men want to speak to me? Especially being from their own community, sometimes it's, oh, they might know someone, or they might know someone I know. But actually it was the opposite, being able to reach out and the men seeing someone from the community, they actually wanted to speak, and they fed back that, you know, seeing someone from our community holding this space where we can speak was something that actually was received really well. So I want to just give that message that, you know, men do want to speak. There is a lot around expectations put on us, you know, being the head of the household, being strong, and what it means to speak. But I think that some of the work I do now in one of my roles is a group for men, men who have refugee or asylum seeker status, and we see how much trauma they've been through, but actually holding that space has been so powerful because they open up, and the brotherhood that they sort of form within that space. So I think it's just highlighting that, you know, men can speak, and I think it's really important that we listen to men, but really make sure that men are heard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's so important. And especially for like our younger generation of men as well, to understand, you know, to remove themselves maybe from these typical ideas of masculinity and to have a bit more of a flexible understanding, you know. Does your faith play any part in that?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that question. Like, I think Islam and my faith, it sort of plays such a big part. And I think this is something that sometimes, I guess, practitioners who don't keep faith in mind can miss, because faith and Islam brings so much strength and brings so much comfort to us.
Absolutely.
When, you know, life brings us hardship, I think that religion brings so much comfort to us and sabr and patience to get through those difficult times. So I think that I see how much Islam has played a role in the lives of people that I work with, but also myself. And I think remembering that, again, even with my career path, that everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
And if something wasn't meant to be, if I had a rejection, okay, that is disappointing, but remembering that wasn't meant to be, and another door will open, and that's what was meant to be, and maybe even better for me.
Absolutely. And, you know, and Allah's the best of planners.
Yeah.
So last thing that I'd like to ask you before we move on, because there's so much I want to get through, but, you know, I'm going to definitely have you back on the couch if you come back to us.
Thank you.
For our younger viewers, again, you know, any words of inspiration you can give them, why should they do this career?
Yeah, I think about your values, think about what's going to keep you going. I know for me it was to support people from our community. I think if you're really passionate, don't give up. I think even if people are telling you no, I remember at university I had a lecturer saying to me, it's too tough, you can't get into it. So even if people are saying no, I think, you know, think about what you want to do and just keep going, because it's what's not to say that you can't do it. And just remember the support around you, whether it's your friends, your family, or online spaces to network. network and connect with people. And as I said, like, I'm here, so if anyone is wanting to reach out, I'm more than happy to help.
Fantastic. So that's great. You know, you've put yourself out there for them, and I'm sure that you'll be an amazing help.
Yeah,
thank you so much for joining us on the couch. And as I said, you know, you are welcome to come back anytime. And I'd like to find out more about what you've been doing, because I really feel like you are going to open lots of doors for other people.
Thank you.
You know, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay.